Okay, so let's continue. Now let's look at accessing items in a list. So if you want to access items in the list, we use indexing and slicing. Now I've covered indexing and slicing in my previous tutorial where I took you through how to create and manipulate strings, but I'll just continue here. I'll still do some explanation and do some demonstration here for you to see how this is also done. Let me just correct this. Supposed to be like this. Yeah, okay. So accessing items can be done using indexing and slicing. So for indexing and slicing, we specify an index or a range of indexes, starts and end, and in some cases a step or stride. So there's the syntax. So the list, we have M, N, L, M, N, S, M for starts, N for end, S for step or stride. So let's start with this one here. Let's get a list. Let's say, let's use codons again. AAA, UUC, CCA. Let's say CAC. Yeah, let's take a look at this. So if let's say I want to access the first element, and before I even talk about it, let me also say that in Python, counting starts from 0. Okay, when we are dealing with indexing and slicing, counting starts from 0. So that means the first item here will have an index of 0. The second item will have an index of 1. So it's always -1. So if let's say you are an R programmer and this is your first time coding in Python, then you may find this a bit confusing, but once you practice for some time, you get used to it. So in Python, counting starts from 0. Okay, so if I want to access the first codon, then it becomes codons 0. If I want the second one, it becomes what? Codons 1. If I want the last one, it's what's -1. So if I want the last one, let's say I know the length, then codons number of items is what? 4. So if I know 4 and I want to get the last one, it's what's codons 3. Then I'll get CAC. This is how we access items in a list. So take note of that. So we can proceed. We also have negative indexing, where we use this approach to access the last items. Remember here, I said the last item was what will have an index of 3, but you can also use negative indexing to access items. So that one we use negative numbers, negative values. So let's try one. So with the negative indexing, counting starts from 1. So if I want to get the last element or the last item here, let me just copy it here. If I want to get the last item, it's codons -1. That'll give me CAC. If I want this one, last part 1, codons 2, -2. So if you're dealing with, if you're using negative indexing, then you can just use the actual values, not the numbers reduced by 1. So that's how we do negative indexing. Now let's try another one. Let's look at shorthand indexing. So with the shorthand indexing, we omit either the first or the last index. So I have some examples here. So this one, for example, we have the colon and then n. So that means that we start and slice from the beginning up to the index just before n. Let's look at scenario 2, m colon. That means we start from m up to the end. And then this one returns everything to us. It returns a copy to us. Let's try it. Let's look at scenario 1. So let me just, this time, let's say, let me say this again. let me just use codons because we are dealing with, I think I'll rather use sequences rather. That should be better. I have, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's start with scenario 1. List colon n. So let's say sequences. That's our list. Sequences. I bring my colon. And then let's say I want 3. Or let's say 4. So that means we start and we end at what? 4 minus 1, which is 3. So let's run this. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is what we have. That's for the first scenario, the first shorthand indexing one here. Let's look at the second one, which is m colon. So that means we start from m up to the n. So I can say sequences. Let's start anywhere. Let's say 2. So we have 1, 0. We have 0, 1, 2. This is 2. 2 up to the n. So 2, 3, 4. So that's what we have here. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the third one. This one returns a copy of the entire list. So that one, we can say sequences. And then we bring our colon. So the entire list will be returned to us. This is how we do it. Okay, let's continue. Now, if I want to get the index of an item in a list, then let's look at how to do it. We are now going to look at how to get the index of an item in a list. Sometimes we would like to have that. Let's take a look at that. Let's create, let's say, nucleotides. A, T, let me just A, T, A, C, C, G. If let's say I want to get the index of an item, let's say T, and I can say nucleotides dot index, and then I'll say what I bring my item of interest. So this will return the index for me. So we have what index of 1. Now let's look at another situation here. We have A and A. So how do we do? Let's say nucleotide.index A. It says 0. So here, what happens is if you have duplicates, then it is the first occurrence that's will be returned. The information for the first occurrence is what will be returned for you. So that is what we have here. So if the items you have here, if there are duplicates, then this approach will not be appropriate for you. But if the items here, there are no duplicates, then the dot index will be a good approach for you. So there are better ways to do it. There are other ways to get the index if you have duplicates of items in a list. But that is something that we are going to look at maybe for advanced users or intermediate levels. So we will do that another time. Okay, so this is how we get the index of an item in a list. So just try your hands and then just practice.